Dear viewers, the term butterfly effect was introduced by Edward Lorenz to predict weather patterns. A butterfly flaps its wings in London and a storm occurs in Karachi. It's an imagined concept, of course, but in real sense, it means one small incident can have a big impact on the future. For example, a tiny virus particle circulating in a bait in China has brought the world to its knees. The New York Times called it the spiky blobs seen around the world. The author calls it the bait effect. We are often advised to think big, but maybe we need to start thinking small. Governments spend trillions of dollars to build vast militaries, track the movement of armies across the planet and practice war games against potential foes, and yet we were unprepared to defend against a tiny microbe. It may well turn out this viral speck, this tiny particle, will cause the greatest economic, political and social damage to humankind since World War II. Fareed Zakaria is an Indian-American journalist and a host of CNN's Global Public Esquire show. A best-selling author of the post-American world, he has been declared by the Foreign Policy magazine as one of the top 10 global thinkers of the last decade. In his latest book, 10 Lessons for the Post-Pandemic World, Fareed Zakaria takes a look at the state of the world in the face of COVID-19 and suggests on how the world must change. In other words, where we are and where do we go from here. The book, he says, is about the post-pandemic world, not because the pandemic is over, but because we have crossed a crucial stage in human history. Now we know what a pandemic looks like. So what policies do we need to put into practice? What lessons do we need to learn so that mistakes are not repeated for the next future virus? Lesson 1. Buckle up. There is good news and bad news. Good news is humanity has made considerable economic and scientific progress over the last few decades. Bad news is this progress has come at a high environmental cost. We have been tempting nature in the process without even realizing it. A UN report in 2019 written by 145 experts from 50 countries have concluded that nature is declining globally at rates unprecedented in human history. It also noted that 75% of all land has been severely altered by human actions. Little wonder then this pandemic on its part is a reaction to our actions, a nature's revenge, as the author calls it. AIDS, Ebola, SARS, MERS, swine flu, bird flu, all these diseases have one thing in common. They all originated in animals. Coronavirus too is said to have come from bats. And the reason why these diseases seem to be jumping from animals to humans at a faster pace in recent decades is because people are now living closer to wild animals. In our search for rapid modernization, we have encroached on their habitats by building roads, constructing factories, deforestation, thereby sending an open invitation for these animal viruses to infect humans. According to Peter Daszak, an eminent ecologist, we are doing things every day to make pandemics more likely. We need to understand, he says, it's not just nature, it is what we are doing to nature. Also, people now consume meat more than ever before. Some 80 billion animals are slaughtered for meat every year around the world. These animals, around 74% of them, are packed together in miserable conditions in factory farms, which makes them a perfect breeding ground for all types of animal viruses. For example, swine flu originated in pig farms in North America. Similarly, avian flu is traced to poultry-producing factory farms in East Asia. So what should the world do now? We know in international politics, there is no world government to maintain order. Ultimately, countries are on their own. We saw this in the wake of coronavirus when countries that had long cooperated, even in Europe, shut their borders and focused on their own survival. So given this unstable nature of international system, what should be our response? Should we close down borders and prevent people from interacting with one another? We cannot do this. We cannot slow down technology or stop countries from growing economically. All we can do is prepare. Larry Billett, the American physician who helped eradicate smallpox, said outbreaks are inevitable. Pandemics are optional. This means that we may not be able to change the natural occurrences that produce diseases, but through preparation and early action we can fight them. Similarly, climate change is a reality. We cannot stop it completely, but through cooperation we can slow down its harmful effects. Also, we must regulate wet markets where animals are slaughtered and sold without necessarily shutting them down. These markets provide fresh food for people. They pose a threat only when they sell wild animals like baits and pangolins, and it is this threat that must be banned. Also, we cannot stop people from consuming meat. All we can do is improve factory farming to make it more safe and less cruel to animals. Above all, countries need strong healthcare systems, and these systems must cooperate with one another. In the end, the author compares humanity with the fastest car ever made, but one without safety measures. It's been driven into an unknown territory. There are crashes along the way, and these crashes are getting worse with time. But what we do, we simply stop the vehicle, fix the engine, and continue to move faster and faster. This pandemic, the author believes, is a major crash. So now is the time to install new airbags and buy some insurance. Now is the time to buckle up.